And we drank a pitcher, and then we going, oh, you feeling anything? No, not really. Let's get another one. It was no alcohol beer because it was Salt Lake City.
Welcome, everyone, to This Was the Scene, the podcast that takes a look back at the late 90s, early 2000 punk scene. I am your host, Mike Doyle. Goober Patrol's music, and perhaps more importantly, drinking, brought them to the attention of NOFX's Fat Mike, who signed them to his legendary Fat Records label back in the 90s. Their first Fat release, Vacation, in 1996, displayed their mastery of concocting contagious, hook-laden punk tunes, whilst the follow-up, The Unbearable Lightness of Being Drunk, 1999, mixed offbeat Brit humor and serious personal overtones with raw hardcore punk and roll. In the late 90s and early 2000s, the Goobers toured nonstop around America, Canada, and Europe with Tilt, Down by Law, Bouncing Souls, Strung Out, and Diesel Boy, and made a couple of really stupid videos for Fat's Peepshow compilation, which I do talk about at the end of this interview. Following their breakup, they dispersed to go to the university, as they say it overseas, work in the Christmas Cracker Factory. I have no idea what that means. And Tom, who I interview, he went on to tour with Toy Dolls. Now, I got this off of Fat's Wiki, so it says here, like present, that says the Goobers are back with a new album, new members, and a desire to get drunk in the greatest cities in Europe whilst playing their favorite tunes, from Easy Life and The Biggest Joke to B.E.E.R and Last Train to Shezza. So that was like, I think this write-up was like 2014. So basically, if you're listening right now, I'm pretty sure you either listen to Goober Patrol or you know of Goober Patrol because Fat Records was such a gigantic fucking label in the 90s that these guys were definitely mentioned in lots of thank you lists, and you probably saw them on tour if you were lucky enough to go out to see any of the Fat catalog on the road back then. Quick shout out to Rob Dementia, who connected me with Tom. Rob has also had mentioned a couple other bands he wants to connect me with. So, Rob, if you are planning on doing that still, please let me know because you had some very good ideas. I had a little bit of a back and forth between emails trying to lock down some time with Tom to talk about the old Goober days, and we finally got on the Skype, and this is what we talked about. Wonkfest, Propagandy, the current power of social media, living together as a band for almost 2 decades, how they got on Fat Records, Fat Mike, how Tom became a vegetarian, their gig in Salt Lake City, currently playing in Toy Dolls, playing with Me First in the Gimme Gimmes, Rich Kids on LSD, the S&M Club with Fat Mike, the story behind the Peepshow video, and a ton more. Before we start, so you're going to hear a couple times where Tom says cornflakes throughout the interview, but there's no reference on why, so this is your reference. Before any interview, I always tell people that, hey, if there's anything you say that you want to cut out, just let me know. And we were joking around, and he was like, oh, is there a secret word? And I just said, yeah, I just say cornflakes, like if you were getting like beaten or into submission by a dominatrix. And he thought it was really funny, and he just kept saying it through the whole piece. But he jokingly was saying it. I think 'cause nothing he says in here seemed like it would be bad, but I left it in because he would just he randomly just yelled cornflakes. So that's the reference. That's what that means while you're listening, so you don't get annoyed. And if you skipped over this part, then it kind of sucks for you. Make sure you check out his current band, Toy Dolls, so you can see them on YouTube, and you can check them out on Spotify and wherever you listen to music. Real quick before we start, I'm going to give myself a little bit of a shout out since I do animations for a living. My website is drive80.com, drive80.com. It's explainer videos, logo animations. And right now I'm promoting my Instagram sticker. So if you market aggressively on Instagram stories and want custom stickers, you could just email me. It's mike@drive80.com, and I can send you some samples. I have a website up. It's basically drive80.com/custom Instagram stickers, but you're not going to go type that. I'm just saying it because maybe you will. It's custom-Instagram-stickers. To bypass all that, just email me at mike@drive80.com, and I'll send you a sample with pricing. I'm doing 5-packs and 10-packs, and they're a great way to brand your stories and build your brand. You want to keep saying brand. Great for marketing. If you follow my Instagram comic, it's Your Daily Bread, BRED. I will use them a shit ton in my Instagram stories just to keep it all in brand. These are great for B2C companies and realtors. Realtors are using the fuck out of these things. If you're a realtor, I'm talking to you, John Cheese, directly. Since you're a realtor, you should probably get these as well. But a lot of realtors have really been eating these up. So you can also, again, email me, mike@drive80.com, mike@drive80.com, and we can converse about this. 3 ways to support the podcast before I start. 1, go to patreon.com/thiswasthescene and sign up for $1 a month. That's all it is. And that's just basically for me to spend tens of hours, probably like, I don't know, 30 hours a month probably on this shit. But it just goes to support this and the bills that come along with it. 2, you can donate one time by going to thiswasthescene.com and just scrolling down a little bit. You'll see a purple button that says donate. You just click on that. You can do Venmo. You can do PayPal. That's it. I don't take checks or well-hidden cash. 3, you can buy merch at thiswasthescene.com, and that is it. Feel free to subscribe, leave a review, and share those with anyone who would love some punk rock nostalgia. With that said, let's get started. You're in. Where the hell are you again?
Where am I? I'm actually at the moment. I'm in South Germany, down like in Schwabia, kind of near the Black Forest. Originally from the east of England, a jolly old place called Norwich. Yeah.
I know nothing about England, so this. I think you're the first overseas interview I've had. I think. Wait, maybe. Yes, I think you are actually.
What time is it there?
It's noon. It's about to be noon.
All right, okay.
Yeah, so it's 7 o'clock there.
Over here at 6 o'clock, and it's really, really hot at the moment. It's like we're experiencing the heat wave of summer. It's kind of takes your energy away, but of course, being really old as well.
Well, there's a guy that I am friends with on Instagram. He has a clothing company. Let me actually give him a shout out. Esotericos or Esotericos. So if anyone wants to check that out, he finds like old band shirts and like just splatters them with paint, and he has like really hot models on there. But he posted the day that California, it was like 106, but it felt like 111.
Oh, sounds quite uncomfortable.
I was like, that's fucking crazy. I didn't even know they were having a heat wave. So you guys are having a heat wave too?
Yeah. It's really quite warm, yeah. And obviously coming from England, this is especially warm. But I gather it's quite hot over there as well. But then, anything over 30 degrees is quite hot, It's like, let's take a picture. But yeah, it's quite nice, yeah.
So are you, now, before we like jump into this, now are you a teacher?
No.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I thought that.
Like the other people in Goober Patrol, the drummer's a teacher. He's a head history teacher. Bloody hell. And Simon and Tim, university lecturers. They're very well-read, learned gentlemen.
So are you guys still playing shows? Because I saw up to on Spotify, you guys are up to 2014, and you've got like your Facebook page is active. You had like a post about Wonkfest.
Oh yeah, Wonkfest. We played Wonkfest and Manchester Punk Festival, and those were the last 2 we played recently. Anyway, because of course, actually, I don't think we had any others booked, but of course, all the gigs now have been cancelled. And it was nice to be asked as well that people still remembered us from all those years ago.
Wait, are you the guy interviewing everyone in the beginning?
No, I don't know. I don't think I am.
Okay, because there was because you posted that, and so I automatically thought that was you.
That's Alex, the singer of Wonk Unit.
Okay.
Yeah, like the guy he's like got sort of silvery bits on his teeth,
Yeah.
And he's like, that's Alex, that's his thing, and yeah, he's a good old boy, and it was just a really, really good festival. Yeah, it's brilliant actually.
Well, is that kind of like have you heard of Fest in Gainesville, Florida?
Yeah. I've never been. I always wanted to go, but for one reason or another, I've never been able to get there. Of course, you see like that time of the year, all your friends and that who are going there, like year after year, go, oh, look at this, and we've just seen them and just seen that, and this is brilliant. And then they like drink Pabst beer all the time and all this. And I was like thinking that looks so brilliant, but never been. And I've never been to like, what's that, punk rock bowling either. That looks quite fun. But
I went to punk rock bowling in 2000. Fuck, when was this? It was 2008. It was the beginning of 2008. I went there and I like flew into San Diego and we drove from San Diego to Vegas. So we started drinking right away. We got to Vegas at midnight, started doing mind eraser shots. And
what's a mind eraser?
a mind eraser is like
It's not a sobering up drink, no.
no, no, it's like the beginning when you just get like you want to just catch up with everyone who's been drinking for like 7 hours. It's vodka, Sprite, and Chambord, I think.
All right.
Something like that, but you drink it with a straw. So it goes right to your head and it just gets you fucked up. And yeah, I didn't get to see any shows. I ended up staying up like all night, slept for like 3 hours, got back up, started drinking Bloody Marys, and I think I was passed out the next day
Oh
from
dear.
from 4 p.m. until 8 a.m. the next day, something like that.
Really seizing the day
Yeah,
there.
I was a fucking disaster.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So, all right, man. So I'm gonna just I'll start this off. So the way I structure this is the podcast started a couple years ago talking about the Jersey punk scene and from the late '90s, and people really dug it. And about episode 30, I started branching out and talking to the bands that influenced us and
Okay.
like the bands that were always on our radar. And I remember you guys, the when I first heard about you, a good buddy of mine, Chris Barker, who was in a band. I was in a band called Lane Meyer with him. He was like the guy who would always, I mean, I'm sure my other friends did this, but I remember him that he would get a Fat Records band. I think it would start with like NoFX or Face to Face,
Yeah, yeah.
and we would read the thank you lists and then buy every band that's on the thank you list. And I remember he had like such a collection of fat bands, and you guys were in there as well. Then I remember seeing you guys on and I've said it wrong this entire time I've done this podcast. You're gonna be like episode 107, and I've fucked up the whole time because I keep saying it was your video on Cinema Beer Nuts, but it was Peepshow, the Fat
Okay.
Records comp, where you guys go bar hopping.
Oh, in the pubs. Yeah,
Yeah, which I want to talk about later on because this is like one of my I've talked about this so many times because I just remember this video because it was the funniest fucking thing I think, like one of the funniest things I've ever seen. So I want to talk about that whole video.
yeah. Uh-huh.
But like, I just want to go back in time and the way I structure it is talk about how you got into music, how you got into punk, stories from Fat Records and like when you got, touring and playing and things like that, and any like weird fun things that come up. Let's go back in time and go from young Tom when you were a kid, and what got you into music?
I don't know. My mum liked playing music all the time, Neil Diamond, ABBA, and things like this. Dire Straits were a big thing. But my cousin liked Adam and the Ants. She put on a cassette, Dirk Wears White Socks. Also, she bought me a Clash single, Should I Stay or Should I Go? And I was quite young. I don't know how old I was. I remember putting a Sid Vicious poster up on the wall and my dad going mental, going, "Oh, do you idolise a drug addict? Blah, blah, blah." And I thought, well, yeah, I do actually. Because it's Sid Vicious, isn't it? And of course, when they say, when your parents go, "Oh, this is rubbish, you're obsessed with death and you're going to go down the wrong path," that's kind of pushed you right down the wrong path right there. Well, the right path, I think, anyway. And that's, long story short, that's that. I mean, a friend of mine recorded me some Dead Kennedys at school, and it was like Chicken Farm song was on there and stuff. And then I bought In God We Trust, and yeah, it all changed from then.
How old were you? How old were you when you got like those records or heard them?
Like I bet 13, maybe. I remember me and my friend Tim were really, really into this band called The Stupids from Ipswich, hardcore band, and I guess we were like 13 then. And of course, oh, it's only a phase. You're never gonna, But I still listen to these things now, and they make you feel kind of nice. And it's really good. I remember my parents going, I mean, I left home and that, and then they were saying, "Oh, you'll grow out of it," but here we are.
Do you find that like you still listen to those records now? Like you'll have them
Yeah,
on rotation?
totally. They're like a go-to. If you like search now, it's ridiculous. You've got like all these things, avenues of limitless choice, and your mind kind of closes up, going, there's so much to choose from, and I don't know what. I'll just go and listen to Operation Ivy. You know what I mean? It's like you go right quickly back to something familiar because, and you go, oh, that's quite nice. It's funny. It makes me laugh. Like lots of old bands from when I was younger. Lots of these crust bands, like these old like. They're all like, it cracks me up when you see like friends of mine who are in these bands and they're on Spotify.
Yeah, right. It seems like so like counterintuitive from what they were
Yeah,
trying to go against in the beginning.
it's like you got the cassette which doesn't work anymore because it hardly worked in the first place. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Well, it's actually funny. I saw I follow Propagandi with my Twitter account, which I don't really use for this podcast. He posted the other day. He was like, he had like a really nice post about Ernie Ball strings or something. And for some reason, I was just like, wait. I was like, wait, this isn't you didn't say anything about politics, like. And I was like, Ernie Ball, isn't that like a corporate? I went off in my brain. I was like, wait, relax. Like, it just threw me off. I thought he was like feeding into the machine, which I'm just like, whatever. I don't believe that shit, but
No, totally. It was very Ernie Ball. I think are they sponsored by them as well. We done
I think so.
we played festival with Propaganda last year
Really?
with Toy Dolls, and it was up in Belgium, Brackrock. It was quite a contrast, but they were great.
Well, actually, I'm gonna keep going back in time, but like real quick since we're there, like, did you like meet those guys and like hang out with them, or did you mean even like back in the day? Did you meet? Because you guys were on the same label for like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
minute.
no. Actually, funny, and like I think it was like Propaganda's How to Clean Everything.
Yeah.
And we got it. We went on tour in Ireland, and we got it on the way over. It's like Fat Records thing, and it was like we were absolutely blown away. We were like, "Fucking hell, this is amazing!"
Yeah.
We played that record ridiculously to death over. I mean, like over and over and over. And then years and years and years later, I think it was 2010, we got a gig in our old place called Norwich with Propaganda. So it's like Goober Patrol and Propaganda. We were like, "Ooh, this is really exciting." And they kind of ignored us.
Oh, really?
You know, when you're like, I mean, not really. I'm not really the sort of person to go over and go, "Hello, I'm Tom. How are you?" But you know, they were sort of like very kept themselves to themselves, which was fair enough. They must have been on tour and quite tired. Then we played with them with the other band. But I think they're on their thing. I mean, maybe they tour a lot. Very influential at the beginning. That first album's great.
It's fucking amazing.
I'm not too keen on the last ones and that because I don't know. I get a bit lost with all the. Yeah, they go on a bit.
Well, there's one song on a recent one it's called Without Love. It's on Supporting Cased, I think, or Cast.
Oh right, yeah.
Dude, that song's fucking awesome. I put that on rotation recently, and it's I just did an interview recently with one of the guys in Shabagoy. It was like this punk band in Jersey. It's super obscure. Like people really wouldn't remember this band because they're just like so obscure. But we started like this Spotify playlist. This guy Dan, and he was just like, it was like when it was in our conversation, we started talking about these bands that we think that each other would like, and he threw that in there, and I was like, this song's fucking awesome. So yeah, if you had a chance to check that out, it's fucking great. All right, man. So let's talk about like, okay, so you got into punk, and you listened to that. So like, how did that lead into you playing music?
I bought a bass guitar off a friend at school for £30, and I learned how to play Dead Cities by The Exploited, and I thought this is amazing, and that was because I'd seen the Exploited on Top of the Pops, and I'd seen Toy Dolls on Top of the Pops the week before or some weeks beforehand. I thought this looks really like good fun, and of course you don't really know what you're doing at all, and that was it. That was the beginning. And I was, really, really bad at playing for many, many years because I didn't really sit down. But then what happened was I kind of always had a go at playing, if you know what I mean, but never really had any kind of, I don't know,
Training.
kind of, training or knack for it, basically. And then at the time there was some, with Goober Patrol, it looked like I'd joined the band on bass. And I thought, well, I better learn how to play bass if I'm going to join the band. So sort of sat down and intensively trained for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then, you know, kind of semi got the hang of it. So that's basically it in a nutshell, yeah.
Wait, so like Goober Patrol was already an established band when you
Yeah,
joined,
yeah,
or?
yeah. They've been going for about 3-4 years.
Oh wow.
And there was like a couple of albums on different labels, on a different label in England. But then like the bass player they had, and they parted, and then there was this, you know, it was like, well, how about having a go? So yeah, I did. It was like, and it was really cool. I mean, the first gig was like the worst fear I've had in my whole life, but it was just so brilliant. It was very much life changing, and it was funny because when I used to, you know, because we all were friends anyway, and you know, always used to go away together. So I used to sell T-shirts or set the gear up.
Oh, so you wrote it for them.
Yeah, 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 and it was like I always wanted to be in the band because I really liked the band, and it was like really, you know, it's like a real happy accident anyway. Yeah, so I had a go at it, and then, you know, that's when your parents go, "Oh, what are you doing?" And you go, "We're going on tour." You go, "Where are you going?" And you go, "Well, there's this a record label, this blah blah, and all this." And they go, "Oh," and they take it a bit more seriously. Then they go, "Oh, I always knew you could do it."
You're like, yeah, bullshit.
Fucking hell.
Well, what year is this? Because it says on, because I'm on the Fat Wiki for you guys.
94 that was, because when I joined the band, we it was exactly the time when Vacation was written, and we did that, and then the guy, actually the old bass player, recorded the Vacation bass tracks, and it was like, and it sounds quite tough on him actually. After the thing happened, we got a John Peel session.
What's that?
Like there was this DJ in England called John Peel, and he was like, he's dead now, but he was like really, really like our Rodney on the Rock, but cooler kind of thing. Like real, you know, he'd like, if he played you, you know, you get quite popular. And then he gave us a session, so that was like a real good thing for us. And then after that, we sent Fat Mike the Vacation songs. He got back in touch and said, yeah, he really liked it. And by that time, the bass player had left, and I was in the band.
A couple things there. All right. One, when you played with them, that was your first time ever playing live in a band?
Yeah, more or less. I was in a band before that, like called Slag Heap.
Okay.
Oh no, I was in two bands actually. I was in a band called Income Support, which was like a chaos punk band, and like, you know, we split up because the bass player went to jail. Cool. and then I was in like a crust band called Slag Heap, and we split up just because it was really shit. And then joined Goober Patrol.
That's kind of nice to go from that to like jump into Goober Patrol, who
Yeah,
had been
it was
established.
brilliant. Yeah, actually, yeah, because like it was like when the Income Support punk band split up, when it was like as well, like yeah, yeah. It was a funny thing. It's like at one point we're getting the band back together, and I'm thinking, no, I don't know if I can take it, because it was like quite chaotic. Anyway, yeah, those two bands, and then Goober Patrol, and it was, yeah, that was like, oh, this is quite nice.
Well, what was like the scene then in England back then? Because I mean, I'm obviously from the States. Like, I got into the scene really in like 96, 97 when my band started playing, and I was about 17, 18 at the time. So I got to see the things that you guys had established in the like mid 90s into when I started playing. So like, but I've never heard of what the scene was like overseas. So I'm interested in what it looked like.
I mean, over here, I mean, I'm not over here. In England, it was quite. There was quite a few bands when we were playing about the '90s, from '94 onwards, I suppose. There's good bands like Vanilla Pod, were a band. Travis Cut, a band called Drop Nose, Pylon. I mean, those, and like the band that was the English band was a band called Snuff.
Yep.
Still going, absolutely, you know, absolutely brilliant band to see. There was a lot going on. There was like sort of bigger bands in the early 90s, Senseless Things, who were going a bit more mainstream. There was quite a buzzing scene, really. There was always a gig somewhere. Yeah, and kind of took it for granted in a way, because you'd think, oh, here we go again. Let's go and play blah blah blah, and with such and such again. and look back and think, fucking hell, that was such a good laugh. But sometimes, when you wake up and it's like, who's driving? You're thinking, I don't want to drive ever in my life. I feel like I'm dying. Can we go home, please? Things like that. Those kind of parts of your life where you question humanity. But it's all right.
Well, like, what was like the scene? Because in Jersey, we had the big thing there was we would play shows, local shows in Legion halls, firehouses, churches. Did you guys have that same setup, or was it all clubs?
Well, it was more or less clubs and snooker halls. Where I lived, there was a snooker hall at the end of the road called Fat Paulie's, and they did gigs, and it was kind of like you had to be a member. You pay an extra £1, and then you go in, and it was just a gig that went on late. And they put everybody on, like DOA, like all. I mean, actually, I could sit here for. I said they put everyone on. Only I just can only remember DOA, oh, and us and some other bands. But yeah, but mostly there was like venues. We used to play a lot in like upstairs of pubs, basements with boxing rings in.
Really?
Yeah. In a fridge. We played in a meat locker in Worcester once, like an actual meat locker.
Like it was still active.
No. It was
Okay.
like it was all graffitied up and that, but it was horrible. And we were like, great night. I said, yeah, we've had a lovely night. We went, where are we going to sleep tonight? Then they went, in here. And we were like, oh, fucking hell.
Wow.
And that was like being shut in a tomb. So, that was the glamorous side of rock and roll. But then it was quite funny, actually.
Yeah, I remember those. We played in a meat locker one time, too, in Denton, Texas. And
Denton, yeah.
It was like this. Once you said that, it reminded me that it was like graffiti, and it was just this like box that we played in.
And people just pissed everywhere, and like you're thinking, and then you walk about when you wake up and you're sobered up a bit, and you think, fucking hell, I need a piss. And you walk around, it's like murder in the dark, stepping on everybody. You're like the worst person. Imagine how much you take the light on your mobile phone for granted now.
Oh my God, yeah.
You know what? If I had one of them then, it would be fantastic. Can you remember have you seen Gremlins?
Yeah.
And there's the inventor, is the dad the inventor, and he's got this fantastic invention, and he clicks it all open, and it's like got toothpaste and squirting, like it's like a pre. I always think would be a nice iPhone. That.
Yeah, what was like? It was like the Pocket Buddy, I think it was.
Yeah,
or something like
it's
that.
amazing. And I was thinking, and now we've got one of those in our pockets, and you can read fingerprints and things like that. It's like it's the future, man.
Yeah, I think I always try to imagine what touring would be like now because social media, it's so easy to. I mean, Christ, you have YouTube, you have social media, you have Instagram, Facebook. I mean, I use the hell out of these platforms because I do the podcast and do a couple other things, and I also can, my main thing is like animation and graphic design and shit like that. So I see the full potential.
Do you do animation?
Yeah, I do like After Effects explainer videos and things like that.
Do you know? I do that too.
Do you really?
Yeah, I'm an After Effects mentalist. I love it.
Shit. Oh
yeah, I do. As a side job, I do like freelance animation. Make films, music videos, things like that.
I have a feeling we'll have to like talk about that. Like, I'll have to like email you questions about shit, or I want you to like send me the stuff just so I can, just geek out on shit.
I could send you some of my things and that. I mean, they're shit, but you can go, oh my God, I spoke to this geriatric Englishman the other day. he sent me his drawings. He said they move.
No. I mean, nah, dude. Oh, I would never say that. I mean, I've been working it. I'm not going to talk about like for people listening. We're going to talk about geek out on After Effects the whole time. However, I will say if you do use it frequently, you should download Motion Tools.
Okay.
And RD Script Launcher. And Trim Pack. I can send you these. These are like the three things that I use that have sped up. I've taken like hours off of projects because of these things that I use. Yeah.
It's brilliant, isn't it? When you get, I love that that noise where it goes, bring.
Yes, when it's done rendering, it's the greatest thing ever. I feel that like back then, playing in a band, I knew that I liked being creative. And then later on, when my band broke up, I was trying to figure things out, and I stumbled across graphic design, and I was just like, oh, that's what I want to do the whole time. But I feel like back then, if I had those abilities and a fucking phone, like a goddamn camera and video camera in my pocket the whole time, I would have had a field day, like just
Exactly.
putting
You
shit
can be
out.
so creative just on that little thing, just on a little phone. If you can like deal with being really small, but listen to that problem. Oh, it's so small. You got a whole creativity in your pocket. It's great.
Have you heard of a band called Basement? They're a newer band, or they've been around for
No, I don't believe I have. No.
Well, they're from, I believe they're from England. They're
Mm.
fantastic, and they are a band nowadays that totally does this great job. Like they're fucking hilarious. Like I feel like from what I saw of you guys back then, like you guys were a really funny band. I mean, my real reference is that Fat Records video when you guys are going to the pub, right? It seemed like you guys were just like having a good time.
It was a good laugh. Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah, like
sure.
I feel like Basement, their sound is way different, way more like harder, I guess. You'd have to hear them, but when you see the behind the scenes stuff, they're fucking hilarious. And it's like they don't take themselves seriously, but when they get on stage, they take it seriously. And it almost is like I feel like if you guys had that the phone in your pocket back then, I think the videos that these guys make would have been like the shit that you guys were making back then.
It's quite good. There weren't phones back then, though.
Yeah, actually, I mean, we'll kind of jump forward a little bit. I mean, but like, am I right in thinking that you guys were pretty just like you didn't really take yourself seriously outside of
Not
like
really.
being on
No, I mean,
stage?
it's all quite all quite ridiculous. Yes, but so much fun.
Well, did you take like the songwriting process seriously or
Yeah,
recording and
yeah.
things like that?
I mean, all of that was like basically Simon, our singer. He was like, takes care of that mostly, and Stuart chips in, and we used to jam and get things, ideas together. And I mean, it was so cool because we all lived together for 18 years.
Really?
Uh, yeah, we started off in one house, and we had a practice room, which is actually my bedroom, and we had all the gear set up all the time, and it was a house that was like detached, so there was no house next to it, next to a main road, so it was always loud with the traffic, and we could practice for all night if we wanted, so like
Wow.
full volume, and no one would complain. So we did that for years and years and years. It was great. And then unfortunately we got evicted, and the landlord knocked the house down like the end of Carrie the film. It kind of knocked it down, get rid of the evil spirits. And then the next house we moved into, we lived there for a few years, and we practiced there. But we were in a more of a residential area, so we like had brushes on the drums, but we still practiced all the time. And then, silly me, I forgot the third house. The last house we resided in it was like the man-child mansion. uh, we practiced in there every Friday and Saturday night. It was great.
So tell me about that. Like, you guys, okay, so you joined the band, you're playing bass. Goober Patrol had already been established playing, and I'm guessing touring up to this
Yeah,
point,
yeah, yeah.
and you were roadieing. So then you get in the band, Vacation had been recorded, and then you said you did go back and re-record the bass, or you did not.
I did not. It was the guy Ian, the old bass player. He recorded the bass on it. Then that got released from Fat.
We'll talk about that. Talk about like, and I kind of jumped. I'm kind of missing the point I was going after, but like, let's talk about Fat for a second because this is the time. I remember when Fat Records, when we found out about them. Obviously, I mean, NoFX was on Epitaph, I think, at the time. Wait,
That's right.
yeah, I forget if they put out Punk and Drublic on Epitaph or Fat.
That's on Epitaph, I
It was,
think.
yeah, that's right. And then they went back to Fat later on. But like they were signing bands that were overseas. Like they had High Standard, Snuff. I remember Snuff was on there. And then remember you guys. And then like at the same time too, and Millencolin, they were on Epitaph. But there was this overseas that they were opening up our eyes to bands that were overseas. But like were they kind of like when you guys got on the label? Did they kind of say, hey, like we're looking for bands that are outside of the States that kind of match our sound? Or did you guys say, like, hey, I don't know if you know about this, but we're over here. You should check us out?
No, no, it was this. It's quite a good story.
Good.
They
I like
said,
good stories. Can't wait.
like NoFX came and played in Norwich, and Simon and Stuart from Goobers put the gig on. It was upstairs at this venue. It was just as the longest line had come out. Goober Patrol supported, and it was with the old bass player. NoFX stayed at our house, and Mike said to Stuart or Simon something like, "Yeah, I really like the band. Stay in touch. I've just started a record label." But he said, like, lose the guy with the hockey hair. And the old bass player had a short long, like, he
Short
got a
long.
party at the back and business at the front.
A mullet, yeah.
And Mike said, lose the hockey hair. And then I think we sent him a single. There was a split single of Mr. T Experience, and there was no reply. And then I remember we wrapped up, because there was an English label that released Vacation, and we wrapped up a CD of that and sent it to Mike. I think we wrapped it up in a really big piece of paper or something, saying, "What an unusually large piece of paper." Oh no, that's the one we sent to Epitaph.
Wait, what was this?
We sent probably like the biggest piece, like huge piece of paper, and wrote in big letters, "What an unusually big piece of paper," and wrapped up our CD really small in it.
That's fucking awesome.
And I think that's what we sent to Epitaph. Didn't get a reply. I think we even no, did we? I think we even might have took a picture of Billy Joe out of the NME and like coloured it in to make it look like Mike, and said, "That's you, that is." Did we? Or did I dream that? No, I think we did do that.
That's fucking genius.
And then we sent, and then we went out or whatever, and we were doing a gig somewhere, came back, and he'd left a message on the answer machine saying, "Thanks for the record, I really like it, I want to put it out. Can you call us back?"
Whoa. Wow.
Yeah. You call, yeah. Hello. So yeah, that was a long story long.
I mean, long stories are perfect for podcasts, by the way. So
So anyway, I was at the mother's house, and they said, "Oh, sit down and listen to the answer machine." And I come back, and we're like, "Oh, that's quite nice." And a week later, or was it 2 weeks later? Anyway, we were playing a gig somewhere, and we came back, and then had a few drinks and that. And then there was a message from Mike saying that he wanted us to come over and tour with Till. It was like the party didn't stop for a long time. We were well happy.
So like it went from you guys sent this over. I mean, I think that there's some people here. There's a nice mix for me because I said I was into animation and graphic design. I'm also big into marketing. So
Yeah,
I had an interview with Chris from Less Than Jake a few weeks ago, and he's like they were like marketing fucking masters. So there's that part of me that I think there's certain people listening, they're getting nostalgia out of this. But there's also like maybe I don't even know there's really a younger crowd of just doing something so different to stand out that no one else is doing. So having that giant piece of paper and just it's like if everyone's mailing him shit, you guys just went completely off. It's like, this is also hilarious. So we just find this funny,
because we were drunk anyway,
which is
thinking it
great.
was like, just thinking, fucking hell, shall we send that? Honestly, and no, I remember the last bit. Yeah, no, and it was the last CD that we had, and we were like, shall we send it? And we was like, oh, I don't really know, because he didn't get reply to that single or blah de blah blah. You never know. And we sent it, and it was the last one because
Wow.
it was like you couldn't really have asked for. I remember thinking, are you sure about this? Are you absolutely sure. And then like he rang up with some suggestions of like what songs to get rid of, tighten it up a bit, and excellent ideas.
Well, I've heard recently because like Brendan Kelly, he's in this band called Lawrence Arms. Have you ever heard of them?
Yeah, nice guy. Yeah,
Yeah, he has a podcast now where he's breaking down every album and he's talking about being on the album. And he talks about when they put out The Greatest Story Ever Told, Fat Mike hated that record. And he said that from that point on, all Fat Records bands had to get their artwork approved because of the artwork that was on Greatest Story Ever Told, because he hated it. And so it sounds like, from what I see of Fat Mike and read about him, and I've like listened to the book that they put out, which is amazing.
All
Um,
right, yeah,
he's
yeah.
like a very like he lives very loosely and just does whatever he wants to. But it sounds on the business side, he's like no bullshit. Is that what you felt back then?
Um, no, not really at all. It was like Fat Records is the most easiest, like relaxed thing I think I've professionally been involved with in my whole life. Really, I suppose it was just like um, with him, he just like suggested these things, and of course, you're listening to someone who's a great songwriter and has sold a lot of records in that context. That very popular, very knows how what he's talking about. And we were like, well, obviously, we'll take that on board. And it was complementary to what we were doing. I mean, I think it's funny as well saying that. I guess when I I've got no idea, but I doubt we're the most successful band on the label. So he genuinely put us out because he liked us. It was very how can I say it? Sorry, I just spaced out a bit then because I was thinking, yeah, it's quite unusual. I'm still kind of freaked out about it because do you
Amazing.
know what I mean? It was like it was so surreal because one thing happened after another, and it was like even to the point because personally, I'm not trained, I'm not this, I'm not that, but knew I always wanted to be in a band, and here I was in this band, and Goobers doing this, me and with my best friends who I've grown up with, who I live with. People used to say, "Oh, if you live together and tour together, don't you want to kill each other?" And I'm thinking, no, I'm having the best experiences in my life with my
Really?
best friends, totally. And we'd go home and we'd sometimes we'd argue on tour, and you go, "Oh God, I'm so hungover. What shall we have for breakfast?" And it was like, well, let's look what we got from last night and look at the money in there. Shall we go to Denny's or Subway? I wanted to go to Subway because I was worried about my arteries. And at the time in America, that was the most healthy option for a vegetarian. So I was like, let's go to Subway. And like, we used to argue every morning. No, but, blah, blah, blah. I want some, saturated fat. I want to clog my arteries up. And we were all smoking like hell because cigarettes were so cheap. It was so silly. Very unhealthy time.
Wait, are you a vegetarian? I know you're vegetarian.
Yeah, I mean, since I was about 16, which is obviously about 4 years ago. Uh,
Happy 20th.
yeah, so like, yeah, so a long, long time ago. And it's a very short story behind why I became vegetarian. My father
Yeah.
said to me, he said, like, it was summer holidays from school. Thomas, you have to get a job. Otherwise, if you don't earn your keep here, it's like, see you later, that kind of like blah, 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 blah. And I went, okay. So I took a job at Bernard Matthews Turkey Factory up the road, and it was like absolute horror. And at the time, I was listening to bands. I think I was like 15 at the time, no, 14. Listen to bands like Extreme Noise Terror and things like this with like a vegetarian message. I was in this turkey factory and I lasted for like 4 days because I was like the grip of terror over my head. Like if I didn't have a job, then I have to earn my keep. And it was the day when they showed me around like the production line. My job was to like cut some flesh down the back of a turkey's neck, and it was like absolutely horrible. I had a metal gauntlet and a Stanley knife, and it was horrible.
Oh
It
my
was
God.
rubbish, and it was like I was stood there, summer holidays, teenager, thinking, well, I'm not having really the best fun. Like loved skateboarding and all this stuff, but I was in this turkey factory, stinking of literally of death, and they showed me around it on the day when I and anyway, so they showed me around it and that, and they showed me the blood tunnel where they cut the neck and all the blood comes out. It's horrible.
Oh my
And
God.
I was like, oh God, this is horrible. And I stood there and they went, back to my post with my Stanley knife and my metal hand gauntlet. Anyway, and I went, excuse me, I need to go and use the toilet. You had to ask permission to go and use the toilet. So I went off. So I went and I put my white Wellington boots in my locker, and I hung up the metal gauntlet, and I did a runner. It was seriously, it was so exciting. I was like dodging through the security things. It was like a really bad like Netflix thing where you go meh 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 without the alarms.
Really?
Yeah, totally. And I climbed a fence, and I went over the top of the bit of the fence which had some barbed wire, and then I hitchhiked home.
Holy shit!
Seriously, I thought, this is fucked up. I can't do this. I had kind of, an episode, I guess.
Yeah.
And I got home, and my dad was there. He goes, "What are you doing home, Thomas?" I went, "I couldn't do it. I left it." And he was like really pissed off and like, you haven't got a job, then, you have to leave. Personally, I would say to my child, "Ooh, doesn't that show a bit of like fucking backbone? Good old boy, fucking high five. Do you want a beer even though you're 14? Joking, of course, cornflakes. But you know what I mean? It's like, it's like these all strengthen your resolve. So long story long again,
Wow.
That's what made me turn vegetarian. And, there's been times in my life I've been vegan. But it's my conscience is really racked with guilt about that. So it was such a horrible thing to see turkeys coming off the lorry, and they know what's going on, and they're all trying to fucking run away like I did, and they're like grabbing them and punching them, picking them up and throwing them in this thing. It was so barbaric. I just thought, now fuck this.
Wow,
Anyway.
that's a crazy story, man.
Yeah. So like, and that was like where I came, summer job.
Well, that was like thing. Well, that was the thing too back then is that I learned about. I mean, I'm not a vegetarian or vegan. I've tried it a couple times, and I
I mean,
just
each to their own, man.
yeah,
So,
and I think people who are, I think it's great, and they probably feel a lot better. I just remember I didn't know what that was until like high school. There was a guy in our school. His name was Mike Ziobro, and he was in this band, this hardcore band called Uprise, but we knew him before that, and I've talked about them before or interviewed Matt from them. And he turned vegetarian. I think he went vegan, and he got that tattoo, that famous tattoo where it's like the guy's head is on the block, and then the pig or the cow is like raised in
yeah,
the
Russ
act.
from Britain's got that. Yeah,
Is that what that is? Is that where that's from?
Russ has
Or
got that. Yeah,
it's like I've seen it a couple
yeah.
times, but I remember hearing about that back then. And this is like the time too when you're 15, 16 years old. So you think that anything outside of the norm of everything else is like, oh, they're weird. But then you start realizing that, like you're kind of like making your own. You're like making your own decision. Like this is not.
Totally.
I'm fucking down with this.
I saw it face first, and I just thought, "Fucking hell, this is rubbish." And
Wow.
that kind of extended when I got a couple of years older, and that when I was away, I was used to become. There's a thing in England at the time which was fox hunting. So you get the upper classes hierarchy, get on their horses and like chase foxes around with their dogs,
Yeah.
rip them to pieces and fuck up the countryside. So we used to go out and like direct action and challenge the people on the horses.
Like pick at them or like just.
Yeah. Demonstrate like, and they would. It was kind of a nasty. They were quite nasty people. I stopped because it was a bit too dangerous in the end, I think. But it was like you definitely feel that you're doing something right because these people are just being really nasty bastards to like for no reason apart from their own entertainment, and it was just rubbish. It's like the Romans toss him to the fucking lions. It was that kind of thing. It was like finding some kind of huge amount of pleasure in a huge amount of misery. Anyway, yeah. Sorry, this is going a bit misery.
No, this is great. I mean, this is just it's not awesome to like know about this stuff, but it's great to kind of get that. It's awesome to know someone's perspective. So like, did you did the rest of the band kind of?
I mean, Stuart and Simon, when I met them, were already vegetarian, and of course that was an influence, and that everybody in the band's been vegetarian. I don't know if Si's vegan now. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's like all this time. I mean, that was something as well. Lots of the bands we listened to. I mean, we we like Youth of Today as well, and they had a very positive vegetarian message. It was an influence. Gorilla Biscuits, Cats and Dogs. The song is a great song, but we got a lot out of that, and it was. I saw it as a very positive thing, like lots of like English punk bands. At their merchandise, they'd have like animal rights leaflets and hunt saboteur leaflets, and I thought this is very proactive because otherwise people wouldn't know about this. And then on the flip side, you can say, oh, well, I don't want to be preached at and blah, blah. But I think it's a free society in the way that you can it's like people say, oh, punk rock. Some people go, you see a million people on bloody Facebook or whatever going, keep your politics out of this. Or for me, it was like, I think it's quite, of course, there's all sorts of messages and, all sorts of things.
Did you guys find that it translated over into your songs?
Yeah, totally. Simon with Goobers is great songwriter. He's got a great way with words, whereas lots of the songs all mean something. It's like funny. There's a misconception because of the Peepshow thing where we're like wrestling with each other in the toilet and things like that, which is not far from the truth and stuff like this. But the songs, when it comes down to it, it's not nonsense. It's kind of like quite serious subject matter. There's like political undertones, I suppose.
Did you feel though, because there's a couple things there that surround you guys. Like one, I mean, Fat Records was a mix between like that SoCal rock sound or that that fast padiddle like fast kick beat and stuff, and so there's like that, and then that kind of like defines that style typically just seems more of like a positive, not positive, that sounds taken away, more like just like a party vibe. And then Propaganda comes along. I mean, they're like that was like mixing that sound with, and you listen to his lyrics and you're like, holy shit, this guy's not fucking around. But then like you guys saying that, but then you think, between that video coming out and you guys you're on a beach kicking around in the video,
yeah,
and then you're going to all the pubs, and then the name of the band being Goober Patrol. Did you find that like when you were trying to have that message come across, people were like, get fucking out of here?
Honestly, yeah, people would say, what on earth are they singing about? That's quite good. That's a very good point, actually. I haven't really thought about that for a while. Yeah, it's quite a bit of a mixed message, isn't it? Goobers, because as we understood it when we were younger, the Goobers were like hillbillies, when they was like hillbillies who get drunk or something in America. And our friend Mid said like, "Oh, you load of Goobers," and that's how it kind of stuck, really. I don't understand this. On Instagram, I saw a Goober Patrol hashtag, and I clicked on it, and it was a dog. And then I clicked on another one, and it was another dog. What have dogs got to do with Goobers? It's just like it's like usually a dog that's looking like kind of like thoughtful.
I have my phone open right now. I'm like trying to look this up.
Or it's like people stood like somewhere like the Hoover Dam with cross eyes or something. Is a Goober a silly person?
Yeah, I mean that's like,
Okay.
if you think that over in like the States, that's,
To be quite honest, that's how we represented it. I mean, that's how we like on the tours and stuff. We were, I don't know, drunk all the time. You're not really quoting, Freud when you're like, half a picture down and a few wild turkeys in bloody Salt Lake City, where they got the zero booze thing.
yeah.
Honestly, we got there and it was the first gig of a first tour of America, and we were so nervous, and it was with Till. We were going, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. We've got to get some, because we were very used to drinking and playing. So it was like, let's get some beer. And we drank a pitcher, and then we go, oh, you feeling anything? No, not really. Let's get another one. It was no alcohol beer because it was Salt Lake City. And then the guy, is that right? Is that Salt Lake City?
That's, I think it's all of Utah, but it's definitely Salt Lake City is like, I think now they have beer, but it has to be below like 3% or something.
And it was like ridiculous, and we were like going, oh my god. When you're like, you're not really prepared for this situation. What are we going to Then the barman was like, okay, you're okay. And it's like, he brought over a bottle of wild turkey, with actual alcohol in, and we got more drunk than we actually wanted to in the end.
Wait, that
But
was your first gig in the States?
yeah,
On Fat, like your first gig
yeah, yeah,
on
yeah,
Fat in the States, and you guys went to Salt Lake. They send you to fucking Salt Lake City to play a show.
yeah. And it was like, I think it was Buck '09
Wow.
played.
Yeah.
Was it Five Iron Frenzy? I don't know. I don't know. There was like, and I remember, oh, Five Iron Frenzy, aren't they like a religious band? And yeah, and we played with them. Oh no, that was Denver, right? And we played with Five Iron Frenzy, and it was a really full gig. And we were like, whoa, this looks good. And Five Iron Frenzy played. No, just before they played, and this guy came up, like one of them. We were talking to them. They're very social. He said, yeah. We knew loads of people would be here because, we got a really good feedback from the church. And I thought, that's a great joke. I thought he was having a laugh. And I was going, oh, you're hilarious. He's not the Scar version of Striper. And he just like looked really like deadpan. No, it's going to be really full. And it was, he was right. There was loads of people from the church. And then they finished playing and then they all fucked off and we played to like some Satanists.
I didn't know that Five Iron Frenzy was like a religious band.
Yeah,
I mean, I know the name and I know I've heard this. Like, it's one of those where it's like, oh yeah, I remember that band, but I didn't know anything about them
but,
like that.
it takes all sorts, doesn't it? It's not for me. It's not for anyone. It's like, everybody has their thing that they like to do.
Yeah, I was talking to Chrissy from this band Element 101, and they were on Tooth and Nail Records, and that was
Oh, that's
known
the,
as,
yeah.
yeah, they were known as being, the label was known as being, yeah, from what I remember, is known as being like a religious label. So when I was asking her, I was like, were they kind of like making you, I don't know like how I pointed it, like presented it, but it was like, were they like big into, she's like, no, it wasn't really in our face. So it's like, it's funny where on the outside you hear these rumors, these stories, but when you get kind of like behind the scenes, and maybe she was just being nice and like just being like, well, it wasn't as bad when they were just like, you must read the Bible every day on stage.
I think I only knew about Tooth and Nail from Slick Shoes.
Slick Shoes, yes.
I mean, I never met them, but we did a tour with the band called Cooter,
Oh, yeah.
like in '99.
Holy
And
shit. Okay.
they were going on about Slick Shoes. They were a great band, Cooter. I like them.
Cooter or Slick Shoes?
Cooter.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Go on. They were from New York. They played a lot of Jersey shows, like local Jersey shows. So that's awesome. So you had said earlier that when you got on Fat, it was, you go from being a roadie to the band, being in the band, then you're on Fat, and it's the same time where you're like, I don't know where that falls in with becoming vegetarian, or no, yeah, I'm sorry, the vegetarian thing, but like you were trying to, your dad's like, you got to get a job to pay your way, and then you get in the band, so like it kind of all worked out where you were like, okay, now I'm in this spot where I want to be and with my buddies, and this is working out great, and this is crazy because now we're on fucking Fat Records, which at the time was, even now, like, I mean, I think they're still a really big label, but at that time they were such a huge label. Were you kind of just like, holy shit, like we are able to pay rent? I mean, were you able to pay rent and stuff like back then off the
Yeah,
band? Like,
kind of. I mean, we did for a bit. I mean, yeah. I mean, we'd get the money.
well, you had the house, the
Well, we had the house, but
houses.
we were renting that, and we'd go on tour, and the tour would kind of pay for itself as we went along. But we were quite thirsty in those days, and a bit short-sighted in the way that you want to, I don't know, make every day count in a way. It's like, oh, we might not be here. Let's have a bit of a party. So it wasn't exactly. We went back to England with. Well, we usually went back in debt, I suppose, with a bit of rent to pay, and we'd go and get a shit job before going on the next tour.
But you guys just like you got to live that life though, where you would.
Yeah, it was amazing.
I remember that too. You'd go home, you'd be like, because I remember hearing one time like Dan from Alkaline Trio, he was what the hell? He was like not an intern. He had some job placement company that he'd work for so when he'd come back home, they'd be like, okay, we got you a gig for a couple weeks. So he would do that, and then he went back on the road. So I started doing that because I was like, I don't really know a job that wants to hire me for 2 months, and so then I would go do that, and then you just go back on the road as much as possible. But you guys actually had the ability, like the backing of Fat, where I'm guessing you could go back out and actually play good fucking shows and be with big bands.
Like decent, like, always a decent lineup, and that it would like a yeah, and it was a really, it was, I think back at the first tour I did, it was literally the best time of my life. Totally naive, first time doing that sort of thing, with the backing of them. Like, they paid for the van, they paid for our flights to come over. Fucking hell, organised the tour. How much more? It was
Wow.
absolute dream come true. People used to say, "Oh, it's really difficult to tour America and all this," and it was just like the best time ever. At one point we were thinking, wouldn't it be nice just to live here? Because we were doing better in America than, as in, like, there was always another gig to play in the States than, where we were. Instead of getting the shit job, paying the rent, doing the doodah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've always heard that England, like overseas, is way worse or way harder to tour than here in the
I'll
States.
forget about. I mean, it's like really. There is a network. I mean, I don't know now. Obviously, not now with COVID. There was a really good network of gigs and stuff. It's completely different. You got to have a bit of a backbone to tour England, because it's not. Every band. I mean, I'd say lots of bands I've encountered have always complained about touring England, myself included. I suppose in a way it was like, I remember touring Japan with Toy Dolls and coming back to England, and it was like a real bump back down to earth. It's like, oh, you're here, are you? Well, you did book us. It's that kind. I mean, that was one example. But it was like, usually people are enthusiastic that the band has turned up on time and in good health. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a funny old thing, but it's a as we say, it's a shit business.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's really smart to have a plan B with music, because it's a very hard thing to sustain your life.
Well, yeah, I mean, like the bands never really make the money. It's always everything on the outskirts, like the producers, the
Even the roadies, like when I was, I did a tour once with Fishbone as their driver and roadie,
oh wow.
and it was the most money at that point I'd ever earned on tour, and that was 10 days, and I was like, fucking hell, this is the future. Who needs to be creative? It was.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't a fortune, but it's really smart to have something else. Like when with Goobers, we went on, I guess, from '96. I mean, we were really touring all the time from '94 until 2001, and it was our drummer Stuart who said, I've had enough of getting shit jobs between touring. I think I'm going to go and try and get an education. So that opened that next door. So basically, that's went to university and they became teachers. I went to university, did graphic design animation.
Nice.
And it was good to have another string to the bow. It was none of us had decent qualifications at all, because we did the band during that time when other people would be perhaps going to university. We I thought life's too short. Let's have a good time.
I mean, you guys have been, I mean, at that point, this was like 7 years of doing that.
Yeah, personally, it kind of broke my heart at the beginning because I thought, no, let's not stop doing this, as frequently as we're doing it. But I did see that it does have an effect on you in a way that you do burn out a bit, after an intensive tour.
Yeah.
And I'm not sitting here going like, oh, it's such hard work, but the hours are terrible.
Well, the drives suck ass. I mean,
especially in America, so long. But still, for me, the worst thing is being nervous for about 3 hours, 4 hours, or the minute you open your eyes that morning until you do it. Is like that kind of horrible sort of edginess sometimes, which when we were all sort of like together, we get get drunk, and that's all gone. But as I've got older, of course, now as my job's with another band, we have to be sober.
Well, you guys have records that came out in, let's see, you got, well, 99 obviously, but you had 2011, and then 2014 you did a split with 7 Day
7 Day
Conspiracy.
Conspiracy. That's right. That was our last thing. Because because we did an album before that was yeah. I don't know. We were living together and we'd kind of toned it down, and everybody was doing their studies. The funny thing is, when we went to university, day I left university, I wasn't there. Anyway, I actually tried. I thought I'd like to get a job, but in between, a friend of mine had said, "Could you try out for this band, Toy Dolls?" And then I ended up joining them, and I thought I'm going. Like the boys went down the education route, and I went back to the clubs. But
Was it different though? Because you were on a band. Now, the newer band you were on, did you guys have label support or?
Yeah. It's a very old band of got a label and all that, and agency and stuff like this.
Was it the same, or like what was different about it?
It's kind of a different level in a way that it's like I don't know, a lot more people come to the concerts now with the other band, Toy Dolls. It's a different band altogether, yeah. But that's how I've been making a living really for the past, I don't know, 14 years, I suppose.
No shit.
Yeah. It was like basically we tour and do festivals all summer, and that's how I've been earning my living until March when it all stopped.
Yeah.
We were in I think no, we toured Germany and France, and we were about to go to Portugal and then tour England, which is kind of a rare thing for that band. And now, of course, it's all pushed now to September next year, I think.
God, that sucks.
Yeah. So
crazy.
So because I live in Germany, I've now, because I've got this amount of time, I've started a language course.
Oh, like where you're learning it,
like integration and things like that, because of course England left the European Union,
right? Yeah.
Which kind of fucked me a bit because I live here, and so I'd like to still be a European citizen. If I can become a German citizen, that's good as well, and keep my, that's the plan while I've got some time.
Yeah, wow, there's so much here. I'm on the Toy Dolls website right now. The pictures you guys are playing in front of like giant crowds, man.
Yeah, it's been quite a few people, yeah.
Quite a few, so fucking modest.
But that was the thing when I first joined that band, and the first gig I played with that band was in Brussels at a place called the VK Club, and it was sold out, 800 people.
Wow.
And oh my fucking God, seriously, I was I was like, I can't do this. Where's Stuart, Simon, Tim, and Ed? Where are my Goobers? It was a completely different thing. Like I had my own hotel room, and I was like, usually we'd all be crammed into this hotel room, smoking, smoking out the window, that kind of thing. But I was in my own hotel room thinking, oh, this is bizarre. And I contemplated actually just fucking it off, just getting on the Eurostar back to England, because I thought I can't do it.
Really?
Yeah, seriously. I told them all about it afterwards. And then, because there was a bit in the set where we have to play acoustic guitars, and I'm about as good at playing acoustic guitars as I am flying a helicopter. And it was like, I was like, then I just thought, well, let's give it a go. And here we are.
14 years later, you've been playing these guys.
And it's been like really good fun, And because in Toy Dolls, we got Duncan from Snuff, the drumming.
Holy shit.
It's brilliant.
That's
such good times,
dude. I love it, man. Like, there's so many people I've talked to where it's like if you follow their story from the whole interview, it's weird because I'm listening and enjoying the conversation, but I'm also kind of like putting pieces together.
Yeah.
And there's just certain people I talk to where they kind of just had this vision of like really what they wanted to do, especially if it's like music or anything creative. And sometimes it just like really works out for them where they're like, yeah, I just kind of stumbled upon this. Like you didn't really stumble upon it. Like you did the things to get
honest,
there.
Yeah. I completely fluked it. I was like really winged it. I knew it was like this, when you're at school and someone goes, like the careers person goes, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you go, I've got no idea. And it's like the last year you're at school and they're kind of making you feel like you're panicking. It's last chance saloon. What are you going to be? And I had no idea. But I knew, I thought I'd love to be in a band. that looks really cool. Just
Yeah.
this stupid, naive thing. Winged it completely, still winging it. I don't know what. There's so much I don't know about stuff that I should know about. You stood. I'll tell you, I've got a funny story.
Yeah.
I was, Me First and the Gimme Gimmes.
Yes.
I filled in for Jay Bentley
Wow.
3 years ago, I think it was.
Holy shit.
In Europe. Basically, he had a Bad Religion gig, and they needed a bass player, and they were really, really desperate. So anyway,
self-deprecation there. Go on.
But seriously, they were desperate, and I went and did it, and I was stood there, and Jay Bentley was, and I was thinking, this is very surreal.
Yeah.
Bad Religion, Jay Bentley. He's like really tall, and I'm quite short. And I was thinking, this is amazing. He's going, don't worry about it. Just play this, just like, And then he goes, and he said, you don't really have to, you just play this. And he played this like ridiculous bass line, man. And I was like, oh yeah, just play that. Didn't really matter. It was like some kind of voodoo magic he played. It was like, I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, yeah. It's kind of like coughed and looked down and went boom, 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 bass, thinking, what the fuck? And stood there like when he was gone, and I was stood there, thinking, when you do something and you just think, when you're in the third person looking at yourself and going, we'll laugh about this later, but for now, let's fucking freak out.
Yeah.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained,
So have you kept contact then? How did they call you up? They're like, hey, let's open the Rolodex up. Let's like, oh, Tom, he plays
I
bass.
don't know, because I know Joey for many years, because Goobers played with Lagwagon years ago anyway. But we stayed in touch, and then Toy Dolls have played with Me First quite a few times, and NOFX. And I don't know who suggested it, but I remember what happened. I got a message through Instagram off Audra saying, do you want to, I thought it was a wind up. But I don't know where it came from, but I was very happy. I said, I was like skipping around the flat going.
That's amazing. Wait, who's Audra?
Spike's wife.
All right, I was like, is she working?
She's like, I think she's manager, and it was great. And it was like, on one hand, it was like really, really kind of laid back, and on the other hand, it was like really nervous because, of course, it's a popular band with people there. And I remember at the rehearsal, like visibly shaking, thinking, new band, let's go, because bearing in mind the next day was the first concert.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'd learned it all at home, but of course it's 100% different, completely different when you play it live. And then like Brian, the roadie, absolute fucking, he's such a nice bloke. He roadies NOFX as well. He goes, "You're right, Tom," and I was going, "No, I'm freaking out a bit, man." So he gave me a beer. I thought, this is kind of like, that's the long arm of. It was really nice, basically.
Yeah.
And we feel at ease. And Spike says, "Don't worry, if you play wrong notes, people are getting more notes for their money." It all worked out fine in the end, And it was funny. So nice to play with these people, like Dave is just an absolute powerhouse.
He's a drummer, right?
Yeah, and he's just literally one of the.
He was originally in Kids
Rich Kids on LSD.
LSD. Yeah, then he was in Lagwagon after.
We did some concerts. First time I met him, we did some concerts in England with Rich Kids on LSD. It was in Derby and Leeds and somewhere else.
It's so crazy, like hearing these stories, because back then, I mean, the people I've talked to in this podcast, I'm just always blown away, because it's like all the questions I had when I was 16, 17 years old are all getting answered now, which is nuts. It's wild to be in my my 40s and I'm getting. I was like, like when you were in school and you're like, that'd be kind of cool to play in a band, and lo and behold, it works out. It was like the same thing when I get to have these interviews. I'm just like, it'd be kind of cool to know what the fuck that is. And all of a sudden I'm like, wow, I can actually learn that or talk to the guys that, or the people that were in these bands where back then I'm like holding everyone up to a pedestal, like these guys are on Fat Records, like they're touring with each other, and you're like, yeah, we like toured with all these bands, and we're like, playing with like fucking NOFX and Me for the Gimme Gimmes and fucking Propaganda. I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
It still freaks me out. It's so surreal. Like Rich Kids on LSD. I fucking love them so much. Excuse me, sorry. And when they played over in England, we saw the drama of a band when you've got a band full of special characters. But we stayed in touch.
Wait, what does that mean?
What special characters?
Well, I mean, like you said, you playing with a band. It's like, were you talking about Rich Kids and LSD?
Yeah, we played with them in England a few times, and it was like I saw the most insane gig in Derby, and Jason Sears, the singer, was just so. He drank, I think, a case of beer on stage when they played, Jesus. And at the end they do a song called Hangover, and he's like vomiting at the end everywhere, and it's like he vomits to order, and he's like vomiting on the bass player. Like Little Joe is like the best bass player. He's like Little Joe, from Rich Kids on LSDs and Lagwagon and Real Mackenzies, but anyway, so they did this thing, but we stayed in touch, and like now there's a band called Shezza here in Germany, and it's made up of like my mate Sam, he's American from San Francisco, and Barry from RKL, who lives in America, but he's playing guitar and he'll come over, and he's in MDC as well. But me and Barry are doing some music now, and that blows my mind. You know what I mean? Looking at RKL Rock and Roll Nightmare album, there's Barry D Live. Now I'm like exchanging emails with rough bass mixes.
That's wild, dude.
Fucking cool, you know what I mean?
That's so fucking cool.
You know what? And it blows my mind. I'm thinking, is this a dream? Sometimes I think, like watching Toy Dolls when I was a kid, playing Nelly the Elephant, and the drummer had huge drumsticks, like 6-foot drumsticks. Looked ridiculous because they were miming. And then fast forward a few years when you don't end up in the band, Father says, "I always knew you could do it."
Well, I did a couple interviews back with Tim from Dropkick Murphys,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the same kind of story. He just was this guy, like really nice dude, and he was just a really talented guy, and just would just jump from band. He would be in this band, he went to this band, and just happened to get in Dropkick, and he's just like, this is fucking nuts. And he's like, and I'm still a fan. Where he's like, the singer will be like, yeah, we're gonna play this. He's like, oh fuck yeah, we're playing that tonight.
Yeah.
Like he's so stoked on it, and he's been doing it for 16 years, I think.
Really, they're fantastic. Honestly, we've played with them with Toy Dolls a few times. We played in Japan with them, and they were fucking great.
Yeah.
And it was like, I remember we flew over a monsoon. We were like, all the band. It was a festival called Punk Spring. NOFX played, Dead to Me, Dropkick Murphys, and we were supposed to get on the bullet train from Osaka to Tokyo, and there was this huge hurricane, and it was too dangerous. So you're going to fly over the top of it. So on Japanese aircraft, you can take alcohol on with you. So we took like all the rider onto the plane. And like we were literally dropping out of the sky, and I thought, "Fuck this!
Whoa!
If we're gonna die, we're gonna go down, drunk." Remember, like walking up and down the aisle serving booze. Yeah, and like eventually we made it, and we were like, "Oh my god, this is so cool!" And we got there, and then we all went in the same shuttle to the hotel. And I think it was Mark, from Dropkicks, said like, "Come on, Tom, party in room blah blah blah." And I went, "Yeah, let's go." And I marched off, and my girlfriend, who was with me, who was like grabbed me by the scruff of my neck and was like, "No, you have to go to bed. You have concert tomorrow. You got to play tomorrow." And oh god, and I remember going to bed really upset, going, "Oh, that sucks." But the next day, when we were playing, Dropkick Murphys couple of them had sat up drinking all night. And it was Randy the Kid. No, not Randy the Kid. He's from the Nobodies. The guy, the one who's not in them anymore, I can't remember his name. He was lying down playing because he was so drunk. It was a sight to see. It was brilliant. And it looked like the bass player was really pissed off. Ken looked like he was really upset with them. But, you know, I mean, each band had like 30 minutes to play max.
That's fucking amazing.
And I was so happy that I didn't drink all that. You know.
Jesus, man, this is fucking amazing.
Was that a cornflakes moment?
No, that's definitely not a cornflakes moment.
Then do you want to know what happened after that?
Yes.
Yeah, this is it. It gets even better. And then Fat Mike said, "Come on, then let's go and have a party after the festival." So there was like a S&M club that we went to, and it was so bizarre.
Okay, wait, go on, because I know in his book, the book that they did, he talks about, like Eric Melvin talks about how Mike would take them to these clubs. Okay, so go on.
Yeah. And that's what he was saying, was going, come on, come to this and that. And we were like all hopped in taxis. I remember being in a taxi with this guy who was like the Australian kickboxing champion or something. And Limo, NOFX roadie.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend. And it was like such a weird, it was like Blade Runner or something. Like we played and we were all drunk and stuff. And like going, this kickboxer man somehow had a problem with me. And I was like thinking, oh shit, he's like Australian kickboxer champion. I think he could kickbox me to death. Anyway, I think I made peace with him. And anyway, we like, you know, it's all right. We're just going somewhere calm at S&M club, which was like people like beating each other and putting wax on each other and things. Which is funny because I found these shorts about a few weeks later. I was going, what the fuck? These shorts are covered in wax. And it was that night. And I remember leaving. No. Cornflakes.
Okay, wait, I can keep that part in though before that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Basically, it was a fantastic night.
But is it like, I mean, you don't have to give me details and stuff, but like,
I mean, actually, to be honest, it wasn't sordid. There was no like, nothing like you could say, oh my God, picture of such and such happening. All I remember was being incredibly drunk and smoking cigarettes in like you know, where you change your trousers in a department store. Because in Japan, you have to smoke in little cubicles like that.
Yeah, because in the book, Melvin starts talking about it, and they go, I mean, they're no holds barred in this book. I don't know. Have you heard it?
I got bought it. I read it. It's brilliant.
But it's even better when you do the audio because they're reading their parts.
I've not heard it. Where
dude.
Can I get that?
You just go on audible.com.
Okay, I'll write that down.
Yeah, I downloaded it. It was like a year ago. I downloaded it after something, but I mean, it makes it so much better because like Fat Mike's, he's reading his part and Melvin's reading his and smelling, and then like NOFX and just Melvin talking about, he's like, yeah, like we went in this and like Mike's all wrapped up and like someone's smacking his ass with leather. And he's so calm about it. He's like, I just really wasn't into it.
No.
It's like,
No,
I don't think I'd be down with someone just beating the shit out of me the whole time with fucking leather, but who knows? Maybe I would be into it.
No.
You never know until you go.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap this up, but I have to ask you about the video from Peepshow, just because like it was one of my favorite videos in that whole compilation back then, and because of the whole scene with the pubs, and I talked about it so many times. All right, so how did you guys come up with that idea? Was that like spur of the moment where you're like, oh, it's blah blah blah, it's got a camera, let's go, or you're like, this would be funny as hell if we did this?
Right. Well, the pubs thing, the traditional, there's in England there's a thing called the Comic Strip Presents, and I highly recommend it. And there's a film called Mr. Jolly Lives Next Door, and it's like basically a story about two alcoholics who are an escort agency. Dreamy Time Escorts, best escorts, come in if you're saucy. this was a film we watched many times, and it was like they take out this Japanese guy called Mr. Yakimoto, and they from the opening time of 11 o'clock, they take him to a traditional old English pub, and basically Mike said, "Could you make a video for Easy Life for this song, but you do a thing which best represents the band?" So we kind of ran with that brief, which was like, what best represents the band? And at that point, we just went, well, let's just get drunk and see what happens. And that's what happened, inspired by that film, Mr. Jolly Lives Next Door, because we said, let's just film us getting drunk in pubs and kind of base it loosely around that film. And it was really loose around the film.
It's so fucking funny, dude.
Do you know, I was at places in America, and like when people would go, "Hey, Tommy," we go, "Hello," we go, "Can we fight you and Tim in the toilet like in the film?" And I went, "I'd rather not. Can we just have a drink here?" But the thing was, it was kind of backfired against us, because if you represent yourself getting drunk on film, people want you to get drunk with them, which is fine and dandy, but sometimes it, was counterproductive.
I can see that carrying that around with you. I don't know how to say this, but that following you wherever you went to, because that's how we would watch video comps back in the day, was that these VHS tapes. Yeah, they would
Face to Face and fucking all these nobodies and all these bands had great videos.
Yeah, and then everyone's buying these comps based on the band they know, and there's all these bands you don't know, which is just a comp in general, but then the video part of it. And then it also, this I thought it was hilarious because it showed outside of the video. My favorite thing is to actually get to know a band somewhat where they're not on stage. Like, what are they like? Like, are they goofballs? Are they serious? Um, but that's why I love this part, because it was just so, you could tell it's real.
Yeah. Do you know how much it cost us?
I would guess just the money it took to drink.
£90. £90. We had to like hire a camera, and I think on that thing you got like No Use done a video which is like hundreds of grand.
Yeah.
Which is great because they had like snowboarding and old people doing cool stuff. We were like, we actually thought when we sent it that they'd think it was too shit, but they put it at the beginning.
Yeah, that opens up the fucking video, and you guys
Honestly,
playing.
when I saw that, I thought, are you fucking mental? And it was like, yeah, it was, yeah.
Well, at the same time too, this is all, I'm like scrubbing through it now because it's on YouTube and I have it in front of me right now. But I think there's also the video in here with Strung Out playing "Bring Out Your Dead."
Oh, right, okay.
I think I'm not.
Yeah.
Let me just double check. Yep, it's at the end. It's the second to last song, "Strung Out, Bring Your Dead." So I interviewed Jake from Strung Out, and I asked him about that video, and he was like, "Yeah, man. They slapped on some he's like, it's us playing at I think the Troubadour. I forget where he said it was in LA. And he goes, but then they just peppered in snowboarding videos. And he's like, I fucking hated it. And he didn't like their video at all. But okay, so real quick though, because you watch the video, and then I think Simon, he's wearing the red jacket, and then he smacks you in the head when it's like the third after the third pub, and it's so you could tell it's so, because you just get caught off guard and you're like, oh man, you just get jacked in the face. And then well, okay, that part when you guys are in the pub and the guy he tells you how much it is and you all start drinking, and he's like, oi oi oi, and he starts grabbing that. Was that real or is that fake?
No, well, we knew him, but it was kind of half and half. But the guy who threw us out was kind of genuine because he didn't like us anyway.
Yeah, that part's pretty funny.
But how can he not like us? We were very good customers. We showed him a bloody good time.
I mean, it's like, it's a fucking pub.
And then afterwards, he got NOFX being, I want to be an alcoholic.
I didn't even put that together. Yeah, and they just do that whole thing in the elevator, and the guy comes in with a suit. He's like, "You guys look like you're having a good time."
That's great, isn't it?
He's like, we're in a punk band.
Man, the punk man, it's so good.
Oh man.
Honestly, those videos were great. You could just watch them over and over, and like cinema beer nuts and that.
Yeah.
They're fucking great.
Yeah, I've definitely gone back so many times on YouTube and found these videos and just watched them over and over and over again because they're just so great. Well, cool, man. Well, yeah, that's all I would. And where was that film? Like, are all those pubs like were they within a close proximity of each other, or did
Yeah,
you guys?
it was just where we lived, the city of Norwich. Yeah,
Are
all
any of
very.
those are any of those spots still open?
I think so. Couple are not. A couple have gone, but I think so. Yeah, I guess when there's a bit in it where he goes like, I think what is it? Like a pint is like Stuart's got a fiver, £5, and that's 2 pints, which would be obviously £2.50 a pint, which is absolutely crazy because now a pint is about £7, £7.
So what's the pound compared to the dollar right now? Are
Don't
we?
know. I
Let me
think the
see.
pound is worth literally nothing nowadays. I don't know.
Oh, that's right. Let me see. Hold on, I'm on Google. $1.32. So you guys are. It's you guys the value's better on your end. Yeah, yeah. So it's like only 32 cents on our end per dollar over or pound
There's
over there.
quite a lot of cash. It's like that's why what happened with this COVID thing. Lots of things have closed down anyway,
Yeah.
because of course you can go to the supermarket and people like to drink and stuff, and you can just get like loads of booze for really cheap instead of I don't know.
Yeah, man. That's like everything over here. Everyone's just like the amount of alcohol sales are going up. Where I think like the aluminum cans are actually there's a shortage coming
Oh really?
because there's less. My buddy works in the he works for a brewery. He's a marketing guy, and he's like, yeah, there's the amount of production with the demand that went like 10 times because so many people were home drinking that the amount of aluminum is like diminishing. So they're like
Oh my god!
they're waiting months to get cans so they can fill them with beer and sell them.
Seriously, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, so that's like one thing where I mean I don't want to cause like a panic, but like that's a potential where that's definitely on the minds of any production company. They're like, yeah, we're having a hard time getting the things to give people the supply. So well, whatever. Well, cool, man. Well, I'm gonna wrap it. Actually do have to get on. I have a fucking project I need to jump on.
Okay, well, thank you ever so much for your time.
Yeah, man, this was awesome. I'm so happy that you jumped on. And Rob Dementia, he's the one who he
Yeah, well,
connected
yeah,
us.
big shout out to Mr. Rob. We had a lovely time meeting, and I met him at Wonkfest originally, and
Oh,
then I met him again at Rock,
where is that? The second one, the Breck.
Belgium, and that's where we played with. That's where Propagandy played, and Teenage Bottle Rocket played, but not on the same day. Fucking great band.
Yeah,
To Ray and everybody from Teenage Bottle Rocket.
actually, I think when real quick story, when my old band, our last tour we did it with the Lawrence Arms in 2000, and we played in Laramie, Wyoming, and I believe, and I'm not 100% sure, but my drummer told me this. He said that we actually stayed because wasn't the drummer of Teenage Bottle Rocket the one who passed away? Wasn't he? Didn't he have a twin brother? Was he a twin?
It's like Ray the singer and Brandon the twins, and yeah, drummer
Brandon.
passed away
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Brandon, who's the drummer,
Yeah.
we stayed with him when we were on tour.
Oh really?
Yeah, we stayed at his apartment because I forget where the show I forget the show sucks, but like somehow we went to his place and stayed. And then when I heard about him passing away, my drummer was like, "Yo, that's the guy we stayed with like 10,
That's
20
awful.
years ago."
That's so tragic.
I was like,
Horrible.
fucking crazy.
Lawrence Arms, they used to be Broadways, didn't they?
It was Slapstick, and then it was Broadway's, and then Tuesday, and then Dan went to Alkaline Trio. Broadway's broke up, did Honor System, and then Lawrence Arms and Lawrence Arms. They just put a record out actually.
Because on that first tour we done of America, we done a few gigs with Broadways.
Really?
Yeah, man. In like and I remember they found a dog on the road, an abandoned dog, and it was there. They had it with them, and it was so. I thought that was so nice that they done. I think we played in St. Louis together. and we played a few gigs together. I've still got the CD. They were a great band.
I love that band.
And Brendan, we were in. They're from Chicago, aren't they?
Yeah.
Is it Chicago? And Brendan was. Oh yeah. The next time we went, he came to Fireside Bowl to see us. And Lawrence Arms were a great band. I remember because when Broadway's, he was like, yeah, great band. Bloody hell. It just goes on, doesn't it? It's such a brilliant thing to be all part of this because there's so much going on.
I know. If you get a chance, you should listen to his podcast because he actually breaks down the Broken Star record from the Broadways.
Okay.
And I actually interviewed him. It was like episode 31 or 32. I talked about slapstick with him. Actually, and speaking of that, when we were on tour with them, we were in Illinois, and I think it was Illinois, and then some kids had a kitten, and I think they were like trying to do some stupid shit to it. And I think Brandon ended up saving the cat, and my friend Amber,
Wonderful.
yeah, he saved it. And then my friend Amber Payne, she was down watching us because she was like, when we go to Chicago, she'd always like come out to shows.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up she took the kitten and ended up keeping the cat, and she named her Brenda after Brendan. Yeah. Super random
Nice
story.
It's shit when people are horrible to animals.
Yeah, dude, I can't. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm a guy who eats meat, but like, just.
But no, still, but generally, it's horrible, isn't it? You walk down the street, someone kicked a dog, you'd think, you fucking arsehole.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just makes anyway.
Okay, so two things before we go. One, before I ask the last question, what would you like to plug?
What would I like to plug?
Mm-hmm.
There's not really a lot. Oh, at the moment.
There we go.
Roll up, roll up, roll up. No, it's I've got nothing to plug really apart from there's a recent album by Toy Dolls that came out last year called Episode 13, and that's about it really. I mean, I'd like to obviously plug my video shit, but
do it.
I've not actually got a website to plug yet, which is very unprofessional.
Do you have a YouTube channel or a Vimeo with anything?
Oh, I've got a YouTube channel and a Vimeo. Tom Blyth, Tommy Goober, Tom Blyth. Ever check out? There's some questionable videos from Napalm Death to Toy Dolls. I made a video for Napalm Death. Honestly.
Really?
Yeah. It was, you know when you think Napalm Death, short songs really fast. I was thinking, oh, perfect. And it was a 5-minute song.
Oh my God. That's a murder, dude.
But I kind of liked it. Yeah, anyway. So, yeah, I'm very versatile. So I'm plugging my versatility and plug world peace, man. How's that?
Yeah, and actually, if you go to youtube.com/Tom Blyth, do I say it like Blyth?
Have you seen it, or is it Tom Goober? I'm not too sure.
No, it's Tom Blyth. It's on.
Okay.
That's your handle.
Tons of shit on there. Tons of rubbish animation.
I love it.
I think
I'm totally gonna watch it.
It's like your worst nightmare. Anyway, thank you very much, mate.
Yeah. Well, last question. All right. So I always end the podcast with this. What scene ethics do you hold on to this day?
It's quite. I don't know. Be how you'd like to be treated, basically. I suppose. I like always. Help some. Be of help if you can. Just don't be an arsehole, really. Really, I mean, it's quite it's a very simple yet broad question, but I would say, yeah, just don't be an arsehole. Just, I don't know. Lots of the scene ethics from are my morals. If you see, gosh, that sounds a very Spinal Tap. Honestly, we're like go to 11. But no, but you know what I mean. It's like just be nice and help, and if get behind it. Yeah, I couldn't think of anything more profound than that. Sorry.